Hi, it's me, your Void, and I look like shit because I got up 40 minutes ago, but I thought I'd make a little update now that I have time and inform everyone that I finished The Starless Sea by Erin Morgenstern. This one hurt, but it didn't hurt because, like, ooh, major character death, ooh, pain and suffering. No, it hurt because it was so beautiful. This book is very vibes only. I mean, there is a bit of plot in here, but it's very much vibes what you're going with. And it's just stories about stories and storytelling just have a way of getting to me. And this is very much that. This is a story about stories. And you get all of the stories in it. And in the beginning, it's just some beautiful storytelling. And then by the end, things start to come together and they form this giant picture. Yeah, I finished this last night. I was too tired to film an update then. So here's the update. I finished The Starless Sea. I really liked it. This is a really good book. If you are looking for a book that only has vibes, go for this. This is the kind of cozy I like. Like, take your cozy fantasy and leave because it's boring. But this is the kind of cozy I like. Which is fascinating because usually I'm not a fan of a book that has little to no plot. Like, I need something that moves the story along. Doesn't have that. It's basically just characters stumbling through a giant magical underground library, but oh my god, they do it in the best possible way. Finishing this Odyssey gave me my first tool as a seer, which is knowing the stars. So I got my astrology tool with this one. I also started reading Sins of Empire. On the one hand, because I needed something that is a bittle? When the word a bit and a little have a child, you get a bittle. Sounds kind of cute, actually. I wanted something that is a bit more, not action-packed. I mean, there's going to be a bit of action, a good bit of action in here, a bittle, given that Flintlock fantasy tends to have a lot of war and fighting in it. I'm like 118 pages into this, so we only have a lot of setup so far, not a lot of fighting. But this is a very different vibe to the Starless Sea, and I kind of needed something when I reached the 50% mark of Starless Sea to, like, shake things up a bit. So I started the biggest book on my TBR to get some headway on it. So far, not a lot has happened. We got introduced to our characters, and we have moved our characters into place for the story to happen. So far, I can't tell you a lot about it. Again, just done with the setup, but we have some characters from the previous trilogy doing their new work, and we have 2 new characters coming into this. One of them is like a police officer, but at the same time, it's like, officially he's a police officer, but unofficially he's like the KGB or something. That's really interesting. Michael is a very interesting character. He also talks to himself, which is written out in dialogue, which is super fun to read through because he's arguing with himself the whole time. And then we have Ben Stike, who was a soldier, and then something happened 10 years ago and he was put into basically prison. And now he got out of prison because a very shady lawyer got him out to spy on our characters from the previous trilogy, which are Flora and Olem, who are just here to work, to get their money. They are mercenaries now, so they just want to do the job they have been told to do, and now there are like 2 sides investigating them, one being the KGB and the other one being a random lawyer. That's where I'm at with Sins of Empire so far. It's me again. Back with a quick update in terms of reading, because I finished another book. It was actually a comic. And the perceptive viewer might think, a comic? There's no comic on your TBR for Adventurerathon. That is correct, but I'm notorious for switching up my TBRs, and I didn't feel like reading Nightfall, so I switched it out for Vox Machina Origins Volume 1. The prompt that I switched out was to have crystals on the cover, and they might not be crystal shaped necessarily, but if you take a look, we have crystals down here and up here, and I believe this one's a crystal as well on Keyleth's staff. I pulled this over from my Aurelium TBR as well, so technically I'm now 50% done with getting my license to fly a dragon around, I guess. This is a reread. I love Critical Role, especially Vox Machina and the Mighty Nine. Not really vibing with the Bell Tales so far, which is why I dropped off after like 30 episodes. I am catching up though. I'm now closing in on the number 40 to get there. But yeah, this is just basically how Vox Machina came to be. Some pre-live stream adventures they had. Yeah, with this I got my second tool, I got my crystals. I can now look into the star crystals, and I'm continually chopping away at Sins of Empire. I am 47% done at this point. Surprisingly little war so far. I mean, it's being mentioned left and right, but there's not a lot of fighting going on. Ben Steig had a couple of fights, killed some people in a bar, as one does. And we just had a little... someone tried to kill someone. But other than that, it's a lot... They're doing a lot of groundwork of getting information about things. It's still... it doesn't feel like a setup necessarily, like we are knee-deep into this mystery now. I really don't know where this is going. It's very interesting though. Slow moving, somewhat. Slower than I expected, but I like it. It's not boring. And right now, there are some threads starting to cross over. We are crossing the streams. We have some knots in the ties that bind. It's getting there. And I have a suspicion about one of the characters. Remember the weird lawyer? I have a suspicion about him. But if that suspicion is right, there needs to be some more work, otherwise I'm not going to believe it. Otherwise it's going to be stupid. If I'm right, and it just happens to be that I'm right, it's going to be stupid. So... but yeah, I need to know! But also, I'm reaching the point again, about the 50% mark, where I start to feel the itch, where I start to feel the urge of reading something else, or at least something besides this. And I mean, this is a 700-page doorstopper, like. And I think I'm going to pick up The Sugared Game by KJ Charles, which is my historical setting for my runes, since this is in the 1920s. In this one, we follow these two gentlemen, Kim and Will, and they are doing high society spy things. That's it. I'm really not good with these updates. My goal is to chip away at Sins of Empire. Maybe, and it's a big maybe, I'm finishing this in the coming week. Maybe. But I also have to work on the one-shot for the Adventurerathon, so that is going to take some time away from what I have to read. So we will see. See you in the next update. welcome to the kitchen. I'm hungry and need a sandwich because when I'm hungry, I get cranky, and when I'm cranky, no one is happy, least of all me. So, kitchen. I'm just popping in real quick. A little update, because the last one was such a long time ago. I finished another book. It's another comic. I defaulted back to that comic because the last couple of days the weather around here was therefore my brain was going therefore my reading was going. In other words, I had a headache that was caused by some weird weather issues. So instead of reading an actual book with like words than paper, I decided to read a comic. They're just easier to stomach when I have a headache. I finished Vox Machina Origins Volume 2. Again, was a reread, also technically part of my Aurelium TBR to do the Dragon license thing, which I now have, technically. I had to cheat a bit for that one, but technically Tiberius is in this one still. Technically Tiberius is a dragon, therefore I read something with a dragon in it. For the Adventurerathon, that is, I believe, my starting quest to read something with a fortune teller in it, which is also a shift from what I originally put onto my TBR, because I cannot be bothered to read a 500-page book for that. Sorry, not sorry. So instead I read a 152-page comic about it. I also had to squint a little for that one, because the fortune teller that is in there technically isn't a fortune teller. So on the one hand we have the character Pike Trickfoot, and in the beginning of the manga she has to divine where her best friend Grog is. So that is technically fortune telling if the fortune you are looking for is a person. And then later on there is also a character in there called Realm Seer Eskil. And I mean, he has the title of a seer, but to be sure I went on a little Google spree, and it has never been confirmed by Matt Mercer what exactly this man does, but the consensus of Critical Role stats and a couple of wikis I found, everyone thinks he's a divination wizard and therefore he can tell the future and therefore I count it. Also, I asked in the Discord specifically, and Kirsty herself said, yes, this counts, so we count it. Again, I finished this, it was a reread, nothing too spectacular. Stuff happened in the first one, and Grog got cursed in a way, and now they need to find the solution, and the solution involves finding the head of a nightmare, which is a horse on fire from hell, and they need to find something called the nymph's heart, which is a pretty rock. Find it, and they fix Grog, and on the way there they pick up Percival Frederickstein from Musical Lazowski the World III. You can call him Percy, one of my favorite characters, so yeah, overall a nice little experience to relive that. I really need to get my hands on the third comic in this installment, just because. And yeah, that's it. That's the update I wanted to give everyone. That's it. Gonna go enjoy my sandwich now. it's me again. Who else would it be? I am, once again, very tired. I don't know why, like, the last couple of nights, my brain decided, hey, what if we do the sleep thing in intervals of 2 hours and then just stay up for like half an hour until you're tired enough to go to sleep again. Anyways, weird sleeping habits aside, just wanted to pop in, have a quick update, because I did some things. First of all, I started Siege and Storm instead of Sugared Game, like I said in the last update. Quick read, reread, and yes, my predictions came true. I'm already so angry at season 2. I'm at the point where things have happened and now we're back on our way to the capital city. Another update I have is I switched around my TBR again, because that's what we do in this household. As I said before, I already changed Nightfall out with Vox Machina Origins Volume 2, and now I'm going to change Sugar Game to the first volume of Devils and Realists by... Oh wow, that font is very hard to read. Oh no. Okay, Devils and Realists by Utako, Yukihiro, and Madoka Takadono? I don't know. This font is really hard to read. Like, I can't read that. I can't read that. This is for my historical setting, so it fulfills the prompt of runes as a tool. I don't know when exactly this is set, but they are wearing fancy ass clothing and use coaches to get from A to B, so I just think it's like, I don't know, Victorian England or something. And this is about a demon called Dantalion, and he wants to be the new king of hell. But in order to do that, he has to gain votes, specifically the vote of one specific person, which is Will, whose uncle has died, and now there are weird things happening to his finances, so now he needs to figure things out, and then this demon shows up. I don't know if this is classified as a queer thing, but there are a lot of elements in here that suggest that Will and Dantalion have a thing going on at some point. I mean, it already starts, like, this is page 1, basically. Well, it's page 2, but, like, and this is how the whole, like, story is. Like, they are very flirtatious, and everyone wants a piece of Will, and Dantalion is very, like, no, this is my human, stay away. It's also not a really new one. This I don't know from when this is. 2013. This was published 2013, so it's a bit older. I have the first 3 volumes, and then I never found the 4th one when it was published, so I maybe have to go on a hunting spree for that stuff. But yeah, I still haven't made any more or any significant progress with Sins of Empire. Not because I don't want to read it, I really want to read it, but I want to enjoy the ride. It's a Powder Mage novel, and I love me a good Powder Mage novel, so I want to enjoy the ride and not just through it, you know? Then the other big fantasy book on my TBR is a big fantasy book on my TBR and the start to a new series, so that comes with a heap of intimidation. Yeah, I'm slacking a bit in my reading. I could blame my headaches from last week, and I could blame my shitty sleeping this week. I could also blame the Aurelium readathon, given that I read so many books. I don't know, the vibes aren't vibing this month for some reason. And it's not like I don't want to read, it's just I don't do it. I just don't do it. Does that make sense? Don't know how much reading I will get done today, because I have a friend coming over in a couple of hours, and then we go play some D&D. Yeah, I don't know how much reading I will get done in this time frame I have, which is like 2 hours, and then I made some progress with the D&D one-shot for the Adventurerathon. I have my setting, I have my characters, I have my rough strokes of where the story is going to go, laying down the foundation and the framework. Going to be fun. And I have some very excited players. Yeah, see you in the next update. I'm just popping in real quick. This is kind of an impromptu update because I just randomly decided that I want to end this video now and make 2 vlogs instead of 1 because I've been editing along the way and she big, so I decided to split it up in 2 parts. Making this update just like a quick overview of what I managed to read in these first 18 days of the Adventurerathon. Somehow it's not a lot, and you'll see why in a second. On paper, I finished a great number of books on paper. When you see the books, it's not actually that much. But that's what comics and mangas and stuff is for, right? So yeah, but that also means I have the big chunkers for the second half, more like the second third of the month, and that's not intimidating at all. So I started my month by reading and then finishing The Starless Sea by Erin Morgenstern, and it was a beautiful experience, all vibes, little to no plot, still enjoyed it, love it. I'm still wanting to at least visit, if not move into a harbor of the Starless Sea, because yes. Then I started switching around my TBR for the first time and replaced the book Nightfall with a comic, Vox Machina Origins Volume 1, to, I don't know, I just wasn't feeling an ebook at the time, so I was like, yeah, comic. This tells the story of how the characters of Vox Machina found their way into being the group later called Vox Machina, and they get up to monster baby poison swamp shenanigans in Stillben. Was a reread, was a comic, quick read, did bam, bam. Got myself a sunburn because I read that on the balcony out there. Bright summer sun. So I burned my eyes, burnt my skin. Happy fun times. Somewhere along the lines of finishing Vox Machina Origins Volume 1, I started Sins of Empire, and I didn't move an inch since my last update on this one. I'm about 300 pages in, 298 pages in. It's different than the first trilogy, but at the same time, it's giving same vibes, same, like, yes. Then I switched around my TBR a second time because I wasn't feeling a 500-page book palette cleanser. Well, usually this kind of book is a palette cleanser between carnage of my grimdark fantasy bubble and the porn of my monster romance bubble. If I need a palette cleanser in between those, I usually read something like Hidden from Benedict Jacka, but this time I have not so much grimdark fantasy and no monster smut, except one novella, but that is yet to come. So I didn't need a palette cleanser, and I didn't feel like a 500-page palette cleanser, so I was like, I need something short. What fits? Haha! This has something that fulfills the prompt, kind of. So I read Vox Machina Origins Volume 2, which is the continuation of how the characters of Vox Machina find their way into the group they then later name Vox Machina. And we are still up to monster baby shenanigans in Stillben, but this time it's not Poison Swamp, but Evil Grog. Then I started Siege and Storm by Leigh Bardugo. Another reread, also a very quick read, and my prediction of being mad at Netflix came true. This book is just so much better than season 2. But before I dive headfirst into the abyss of a rant, quick read, loved it, just like the first time around. I'm still challenging Kirsty to make a prompt that enables me to reread book 3 for the next round of Adventurerathon, just so I can get the trilogy done in 3 iterations of the readathon. And the last book I managed to finish was the first volume of Devils and Realists, and no, I have not learned the names of the authors of this one, and I still can't read the font. So it's by these people. I was wrong with the uncle dying. The uncle just went missing after taking all the money. That's not necessarily important to the plot. Important is there is no money, so Will has to come up with a weird plan, and so he goes through his whole house looking for something that he can sell to pay his school fees, and then he finds this weird circle thing, and then he falls flat on his face, and then he starts bleeding, and then his blood activates this weird drawing on the floor, and turns out this is like some sort of demon summoning circle, and then Dantalion shows up and is like, haha, I have waited so long for you so you can vote for me to become the king of hell. And Will is like, the what now? Because he doesn't believe in God, hell, demons, whatever. Like, even after he's sucked to hell, he's like, nah, that is some magic trick and y'all are living in my basement. So, yes, and now the Italian is going to school with Will, and then an ex-serial killer turned demon is showing up, and then another character shows up who's, like, super into God, but has accidentally summoned a demon, and everyone wants Will, and Will is like, fuck y'all. So, yeah. This is a ride, but it's a good-looking ride. I really like the art style. Will does this wonderful thing that also happened in Inuyasha when like remember when Kagome just said this one phrase and Inuyasha was just face first into the ground and couldn't move? Well, Will does a similar thing. Every time like demons act up and like fight each other with these world-destroying powers, he's like, stop it! And everyone's like, have! And their powers disappear. It's hilarious because the demons don't understand it, and Will, who's doing it, is still of the firm opinion that none of this is real. That there is a scientific explanation for all of this. Hilarious. And yeah, that's my quick update on what I've read, and yeah, as I said, it's technically I read 5 things, but 3 of those are comics and mangas, so yeah. But that's fine. Definitely gonna finish Sins of Empire by the end of the month. I really want to get through at least all of the main prompts. So after or during reading Sins of Empire, I'm probably also going to start Fate of the Fallen by Cal Cade, which is the last book on the main path prompt list that I need to finish. So that is my priority. Reading the big fantasy chonkers, and when I'm done with that, I'm going to into the side quests. But yeah, that's it. Quick little cute update, and I guess I'll see you in the next update, which will be in the next video. no, I still don't know how to close out videos. Bye.